Okay, here's my story. It's everything that happened. It still feels like a dream sometimes, even now. My name is Mark, and up until a few months ago, my life felt like I was trying to run a marathon with my ankles tied together. Uphill, in the rain. Exaggeration? Maybe a little, but honestly, not by much. I'm a single dad. My little girl, Lily, she's my whole world. She's 6, with these bright, curious eyes and a laugh that used to be the loudest thing in our tiny apartment. Lately, though, her laughter had gotten quieter, and her eyes, well, they saw too much of my worry. It all started when the factory I'd worked at for 10 years, the place where I'd put in overtime, sweated, and bled a little, just up and closed. Restructuring, they called it. For me, it meant disaster. My wife, Sarah, had left a couple of years before that. Couldn't handle the stress, she said. Couldn't handle me not making enough, not being enough. I don't blame her. Not entirely. Life had been tough. But Lily stayed. And for her, I'd do anything. So there I was, no job. Savings dwindling faster than ice cream on a summer day. Rent was due, then overdue. Mr. Henderson, my landlord, he was a decent guy. But decent only stretches so far when he's got bills of his own. He'd started giving me those looks, the ones that say, "Time's almost up, pal." Every morning I'd get Lily ready for her pre-K, a small church-run program that was mercifully cheap. I'd pack her a lunch, usually a peanut butter sandwich. No jelly, we were rationing. And an apple, if we could afford it that week. Then my day would be a frantic blur of online job boards, pounding the pavement, handing out resumes that felt increasingly pathetic. The rejections piled up. Overqualified. Underqualified. Not the right fit. Sometimes, just silence. Each no was another tiny chip out of my already crumbling hope. The worst part was Lily. She'd ask, "Daddy, can we get the sparkly cereal today?" Or, "Daddy, can I have that dolly in the window?" And I'd have to say, "Not today, sweet pea. Maybe soon." The maybe soon felt like a lie every time I said it. Her little face would fall just for a second, before she'd bravely smile and say, "Okay, Daddy." That brave smile broke my heart more than any tantrum would have. We ate a lot of pasta, with ketchup or rice with a little bit of soy sauce. I'd skip meals sometimes, telling Lily I wasn't hungry, just so she could have a bit more. The hunger pangs were nothing compared to the gnawing fear in my gut. What if I couldn't find anything? What if we lost the apartment? Where would we go? The thought of Lily being homeless, of me failing her so completely, it kept me up most. Nights, staring at the cracked ceiling, the shadows playing tricks on my tired eyes. Then came the eviction notice, taped to the door, stark white against the peeling paint. It gave us 30 days. 30 days to find a miracle. I felt a cold dread wash over me, so intense it made my knees weak. I remember sitting on the floor right there in the hallway, the notice crinkling in my fist and just letting the tears come. Not loud sobs, just silent hot tears of pure unadulterated panic. Lily found me like that. She didn't understand, not really. But she knew Daddy was sad. She crawled into my lap, her small arms wrapping around my neck, and whispered, "It's okay, Daddy. I love you." Her words were like a jolt. I couldn't give up. I wouldn't. For her, I redoubled my efforts. I applied for everything. Cleaner, dishwasher, stockboy, anything. I even swallowed my pride and called a few old contacts, people I hadn't spoken to in years. One of them, a guy named Dave, who I used to work with at the factory before. He moved on to a logistics company, told me about a possible opening. "It's entry-level, Mark," he'd said. "Data entry, glorified filing mostly. Not much pay, but it's something." Company's called Innovate Solutions. Big corporate place downtown. Big corporate. The words made me nervous. I was a factory guy, used to grease and machinery, not suits and spreadsheets. But it was a lead. It was hope. The interview was scheduled for a Tuesday, 10 a.m. I spent Monday night ironing my one good shirt, a light blue button-down that was a bit frayed at the cuffs. I polished my only pair of decent shoes, shoes I'd had for years, hoping they'd pass muster. I even practiced my handshake in the mirror, trying to project a confidence I definitely didn't feel. That Tuesday morning, I woke up before dawn. My stomach was a knot of anxiety. I made Lily her breakfast, a small bowl of plain oats. I wished I could give her something better, something with fruit or honey. "Daddy has a very important meeting today, Sweet Pea," I told her, trying to sound cheerful. "If it goes well, maybe we can get that sparkly cereal, okay?" Her eyes lit up. "Really, Daddy? The one with the marshmallows? We'll see, Pumpkin. We'll see." I dropped her off at pre-K, giving her an extra tight hug. "Be good for Mrs. Davis," I said. "I will, Daddy. Good luck," she called, waving until I turned the corner. The bus ride downtown felt endless. I clutched my worn briefcase, which held a few copies of my resume, and a pen that might or might not work. The Innovate Solutions building was one of those gleaming skyscrapers that scraped the clouds. It was intimidating. All glass and steel, with a lobby so big and shiny you could see your reflection in the floor. People in expensive suits hurried past, talking into phones, looking important. I felt like a fish out of water, a very small, very shabby fish. I checked in at the reception desk, my voice a little shaky. "Mark Fletcher, for a 10 a.m. interview with, Mr. Henderson?" I'd scribbled the name down from Dave's call, or at least I thought I had. My handwriting isn't the best, especially when I'm rushing. The receptionist, a young woman with a headset and a polite but distant smile, typed something into her computer. "Mr. Harrison, you mean, for the data entry position?" "Oh, yes, Harrison. Sorry," I mumbled, feeling a flush creep up my neck. "Stupid mistake. Get it together, Mark. 11th floor, suite 1102. Take the elevators on your right. Thank you." The elevator was one of those super-fast silent ones. My ears popped. When the doors opened on the 11th floor, I stepped out into a hushed, carpeted hallway. It smelled faintly of lemon polish and money. I found suite 1102. The door was slightly ajar. I could hear a low murmur of voices inside. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. This was it, my one shot. I pushed the door open a little further and peeked in. It wasn't a reception area like I expected. It was a large, plush office. A huge mahogany desk dominated one end, with a sweeping view of the city behind it. A man was sitting at the desk, his back mostly to me, talking on the phone. He was older, maybe late 50s, with silver hair, wearing a very sharp suit. This couldn't be right. This looked like the boss's office, a big boss. Panic flared. Had I misheard the suite number? I fumbled for the piece of paper where I'd written everything down. My hands were sweating. The paper was crumpled. I couldn't make out my own scribbles clearly. The man on the phone hung up and swiveled his chair around. He looked directly. Me, a questioning look on his face. "Yes, can I help you?" His voice was deep, calm, authoritative. My mind went blank. Absolutely, utterly blank. I just stood there frozen like a deer in headlights, clutching my briefcase. I should have said something, apologized, explained I was in the wrong place. But the words wouldn't come. All I could think was, "I've blown it. I've already blown it." He raised an eyebrow. "Are you here for a meeting?" I finally managed a weak nod, my throat dry. "Yes, sir. The interview." He frowned slightly, glancing at a sleek tablet on his desk. "I don't believe I have an interview scheduled right now. Who are you here to see?" Mr. Harrison," I stammered, my earlier mistake with the receptionist echoing in my head. God, I hoped I had the name right this time. A flicker of something. Surprise, confusion, crossed his face. "I am Mr. Harrison," he said, "Arthur Harrison, the CEO of Innovate Solutions. CEO. The letters hit me like a punch to the gut. CEO. What in God's name was I doing in the CEO's office? I wasn't supposed to be interviewing with the CEO for an entry-level data entry job. This was a colossal mistake. My mistake. "Oh," I said, the sound small and pathetic. "Oh, I am so sorry, sir. I must have the wrong office. I'm here for the data entry position. I was told suite 1102. My voice trailed off. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. I felt like such an idiot, a clumsy, bumbling fool. Mr. Harrison looked at me. Really looked at me then. His gaze was sharp, assessing. I probably looked a sight. My cheap, slightly frayed shirt, my worn-out shoes, the desperate anxiety undoubtedly written all over my face. Data entry? He repeated, his brow furrowed. That department is on the 7th floor. HR usually handles those initial interviews. He paused, then said more gently than I expected, You seem a bit lost, Mr. Fletcher. Mark Fletcher, I supplied, my cheeks burning with embarrassment. And yes, sir, I am. Very lost, apparently. I am so sorry to have disturbed you. I'll go find the 7th floor. I started to back out, wishing I could just disappear. Wait, Mr. Harrison said. His voice wasn't harsh, just firm. I stopped. Since you're here, Mr. Fletcher, sit down for a moment. He gestured to one of the plush leather chairs in front of his desk. Sit down? In the CEO's office after barging in like a moron? I hesitated. Sir, I really don't want to waste any more of your time. I can find my way. Nonsense. Sit. It wasn't really a request. Numbly, I walked over and perched on the edge of the chair. It was probably worth more than everything I owned. My briefcase felt heavy and awkward on my lap. Mr. Harrison leaned back in his own chair, steepling his fingers. He studied me for a long moment. It wasn't an unkind scrutiny, more thoughtful. So, Mr. Fletcher, he began, his voice even. Tell me, why do you want to work in data entry at Innovate Solutions? My carefully rehearsed answers for the HR interviewer flew out of my head. Faced with the CEO in this unexpected, terrifying situation, all pretense just vanished. What came out was the raw, unvarnished truth. Honestly, sir, I said, my voice a little shaky but gaining a desperate sort of strength. I need a job, any job. I've been out of work for almost 6 months. My last place, a factory, it shut down. I have a little girl, Lily, she's 6 and we're about to lose our apartment. The words tumbled out, clumsy and unplanned. I'll do anything. I'm a hard worker, I learn fast. I know data entry. Isn't glamorous, but I'll be the best data entry clerk you've ever had, I swear. I need a chance. For her. As I spoke, I could feel the dam inside me starting to crack. The months of fear, of quiet desperation, of feeling like a failure, it was all bubbling up. I fumbled in my briefcase, not for my resume, but for my wallet. I pulled out the little school photo of Lily, the one where she's missing a front tooth and grinning like the world is her oyster. I held it out to him, my hand trembling. This is her, I said, my voice thick with emotion I couldn't hold back anymore. This is Lily. She's everything. Mr. Harrison took the photo. He looked at it for a long time, his expression unreadable. The silence in the huge office stretched, heavy and suffocating. I could hear the tick-tock of an ornate grandfather clock in the corner, each tick sounding like a judgment. I braced myself for him to hand the photo back, to tell me politely that this was highly inappropriate, to direct me to the door, maybe even call security. I'd made a fool of myself. I'd ruined my only chance. Then, he looked up from the photo, and his eyes, they weren't cold or dismissive. There was something else there, something I couldn't quite name. Softness, maybe? He cleared his throat. She's a beautiful little girl, Mr. Fletcher. He handed the photo back to me carefully. Thank you, sir, I whispered, my gaze dropping to the expensive carpet. I felt tears pricking at my eyelids. Oh God, not now, don't cry, not here. Mr. Harrison leaned forward, resting his elbows on the polished desk. Mr. Fletcher, Mark, he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. Life has a way of throwing punches when we least expect it, doesn't it? I just nodded, unable to speak, fighting back the lump in my throat. I know something about that, he continued, his gaze distant for a moment, as if looking at something far away or long ago. When I was starting out a long time ago, I had young family. I lost my job, we had nothing. I mean nothing, I remember the fear, the shame, the feeling that I was letting them down every single day. I looked up, surprised. This man, this powerful, successful CEO in his fancy office, he understood. He met my gaze, and there was a deep well of empathy in his eyes that caught me completely off guard. I remember thinking if just one person would give me a chance, just one break, I could turn things around. I swore that if I ever got to a position where I could help someone else in that boat, I would. He paused, and then he said the words. The words that changed everything. The words that still echo in my mind. Mark, he said, his voice quiet but firm. I'm not going to offer you a data entry job. My heart sank. Of course. I'd embarrassed myself, acted unprofessionally. This was it, the final nail in the coffin. I started to gather my pathetic briefcase, ready to make my walk of shame. Because, he continued, and there was a hint of a smile playing on his lips, I think we can do a little better than that for you. What was your role at the factory before it closed? I blinked, confused. I was a shift supervisor, sir, for the last few years. Before that, I worked on the line, quality control, a bit of everything. Supervisor, eh? He tapped his chin, thoughtfully. So you have experience managing people, overseeing operations, ensuring quality? Yes, sir. On a smaller scale, of course, but yes. We have a logistics and warehousing department, Mr. Harrison said, more to himself than to me, though he was looking right at me. It's the backbone of our physical product distribution. We're always looking for good people there, people with practical experience, people who understand how things work on the ground. It's not glamorous, not like our tech division, but it's vital. He leaned forward again. Mark, I'm going to be honest. Your resume probably wouldn't have crossed my desk for such a role through the usual channels. You might have gotten filtered out by HR for not having a specific degree or the right kind of corporate experience. But I'm looking at you now, and I'm hearing your story. And I see someone who is desperate, yes, but also determined. Someone who loves his daughter enough to lay his pride on the line. He picked up his phone, not the one he'd been talking on earlier, but an internal line. He pressed a button. Janet, could you please ask Howard from Logistics to come up to my office? Yes, right away, thank you. He hung up. Howard runs our logistics division. He's a good man. Started on the warehouse floor himself. Mr. Harrison looked at me. Mark, I can't promise you anything. Howard will need to talk to you, assess your skills. But if he thinks you're a fit, there might be a position for an assistant manager in one of the warehouse sections. It would pay significantly more than data entry. Enough to take care of Lily and keep that apartment. I stared at him, dumbfounded. Assistant manager? More pay? It was too much to take in. Was this real? Was this actually happening? Sir, I don't know what to say, I stammered, my mind reeling. Say you'll talk to Howard, Mr. Harrison said with a small smile. Say you'll give it your best shot. And then the dam finally broke. I couldn't stop it, the relief, the shock, the sudden overwhelming surge of hope after months of despair. It was too much. My vision blurred. Hot tears spilled over and ran down my cheeks. I wasn't sobbing loudly, but my shoulders shook. I tried to wipe my eyes, feeling ashamed of crying in front of this powerful man, but the tears just kept coming. It was the kind of crying that comes from deep within, from a place where all your fear and pain has been stored up for too long. I fumbled for a handkerchief that wasn't there. Mr. Harrison, without a word, slid a box of tissues across the vast expanse of his mahogany desk. It's all right, Mark, he said, his voice incredibly kind. Sometimes a man's just gotta let it out. I took a tissue, then another, trying to compose myself. I'm sorry, sir, I choked out. It's just, you have no idea. This means everything. I think I do have some idea, he said softly. Take a moment. Howard will be up shortly. And that's how it happened. The broke single dad, me, who'd blundered into the wrong office, ended up sitting there, tear-streaked and dazed, in front of the CEO of a major corporation, who was offering not just a job, but a lifeline. Howard from Logistics came up a few minutes later. He was a big, friendly guy with a firm handshake and a no-nonsense attitude. Mr. Harrison briefly explained the situation, leaving out my tearful breakdown, thankfully, and then left us to talk. Howard asked me about my experience at the factory, about managing teams, dealing with problems, my understanding of workflow. We talked for nearly an hour. It wasn't a formal interview, more like a conversation. He seemed to like my practical, hands-on approach. By the end of it, Howard grinned. "Well, Mark," he said, "Mr. Harrison has good instincts. I think you'll do just fine. We've got an opening for an assistant shift supervisor down at the main warehouse. It's demanding, long hours sometimes, but it's steady. And the pay's decent. Can you start Monday?" Start Monday? It was like a dream. Yes. Yes, absolutely, Mr. Howard. Thank you. Thank you so much. Before I left, Mr. Harrison called me back into his office for a moment. "One more thing, Mark," he said, scribbling something on a piece of paper. He handed it to me. It was a name and a number. "This is my personal assistant, Carol. Call her when you get a moment. I've authorized an advance on your first month's salary, enough to cover that rent and get some groceries in the house. Consider it an investment in a promising new employee." This time, the tears that welled up were purely tears of gratitude. I couldn't even speak. I just nodded, my throat tight. "Go home to your Lily, Mark," he said, his eyes warm. "Tell her the sparkly cereal is definitely on the menu." I walked out, of that skyscraper feeling like I was floating. The city didn't seem so intimidating anymore. The sun felt warmer. I practically skipped to the bus stop. The first thing I did was call Carol, Mr. Harrison's assistant. She was incredibly kind and efficient, and confirmed that the funds would be transferred to my account by the end of the day. By the time I picked Lily up from pre-K, the money was already there. I swung her up into my arms, higher than I had in months. "Guess what, sweet pea?" I said, my voice choked with happiness. "Daddy got a new job, a really good job." Her face lit up like a Christmas tree. "Really, Daddy, really, 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 and guess what else?" What? She bounced in my arms. "We're going to the supermarket, and you," I said, poking her nose, "can pick out the sparkliest, most marshmallow-filled cereal they have." Her shriek of delight was the best sound I'd heard in a very, very long time. That evening, after Lily was asleep, clutching a new box of rainbow sparkle puffs, we'd also bought real milk, fruit, chicken, and vegetables, a feast. I sat in our small living room, the eviction notice still on the coffee table. I picked it up, looked at it for a long moment, and then, slowly, I tore it into tiny pieces. The next day, I paid the overdue rent. Mr. Henderson looked surprised, then relieved. "Glad to see you landed on your feet, Mark," he said, shaking my hand. Monday came and I started my new job. The warehouse was huge, bustling, and a bit chaotic, but it felt right. It was hard work, learning the systems, getting to know the team. But I threw myself into it. I remembered Mr. Harrison's words, his belief in me. I remembered Lily's happy face. I wouldn't let them down. It's been a few months now. Life isn't magically perfect. There are still challenges. I'm still tired at the end of the day. Being a single dad is still the toughest, most rewarding job there is, but the crushing weight of fear is gone. We have enough. We're secure. Lily's laughter is loud again, her eyes bright. She started kindergarten and she loves it. She tells everyone her daddy is a supervisor and works in a ginormous building. Every now and then I see Mr. Harrison. Sometimes in the hallway, sometimes he visits the warehouse. He always greets me with a nod and a warm smile. "How's Lily, Mark?" he'll ask. And I'll tell him she's doing great, and thank him again. He just waves it off, saying he knew I had it in me. I often think about that day. How a simple mistake, a wrong turn into the wrong office, changed my life so completely. How one man's kindness, his willingness to see beyond my shabby exterior and my bumbling fear, gave me back my dignity, my hope, and a future for my little girl. Sometimes when things get tough at work, or when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I take out Lily's school photo. And I remember Mr. Harrison looking at it, seeing not just a picture, but a father's love and desperation. And I remember his words, "Life has a way of throwing punches." I swore that if I ever got to a position where I could help someone, else in that boat I would. He did. He helped me. He didn't just give me a job, he gave me a chance to be the father Lily deserved. And those words he spoke, the ones that made a broke single dad like me break down in tears in the CEO's office, they weren't just words. They were a lifeline. They were grace, and I'll carry them in my heart for the rest of my days. A reminder that even in the darkest of times, a little kindness, a little understanding can make all the difference in the world. The first few weeks at the new job were a whirlwind. My shift started early, which meant waking Lily up before the sun, getting her dressed and fed, and then dropping her at a new before-school care program I'd found near her kindergarten. It cost more, but with my new salary, it was manageable. The relief of being able to say, "Yes, we can afford that," instead of "Not today, sweet pea," was immeasurable. The warehouse itself was a city within a city. Forklifts beeped and whirred, conveyor belts rumbled, and an army of workers sorted, packed, and shipped goods all over the country. My previous factory experience was a godsend. While the products were different, the principles of workflow, efficiency, and team management were largely the same. Howard, my direct boss, was a patient mentor. He showed me the ropes, introduced me to the team, and gave me real responsibilities from day one. My team was a mixed bunch, young guys fresh, out of school, older veterans who'd been with the company for decades, people from all walks of life. At first, I think they were a bit wary of me, the new assistant supervisor who'd seemingly appeared out of nowhere. But I made a point of learning everyone's name, listening to their concerns, and not being afraid to get my hands dirty. I remembered what it was like to be on the line, to feel unheard or unappreciated. I tried to be the kind of supervisor I'd always wanted to have. Slowly, I earned their respect. We hit our targets, then exceeded them. I found a few small ways to improve. Our section's efficiency, simple things I'd learned from my years at the factory, and Howard was impressed. He even mentioned it to Mr. Harrison during one of the CEO's visits. Mr. Harrison just smiled that knowing smile and said, "I told you he had potential, Howard." That praise coming from him felt like $1,000,000, but the best part of it, all was Lily. Seeing her thrive was my greatest reward. We moved out of that cramped, depressing apartment, not to a mansion, nothing fancy, but to a small, clean 2-bedroom place in a nicer neighborhood, with a little patch of grass out back where she could play. It had a sunny kitchen where we could eat breakfast together without feeling like we were bumping elbows with the walls. The first night in our new place after we'd unpacked the essentials and eaten pizza on the floor because we hadn't set up the table yet, Lily snuggled up to me on our old, lumpy couch. "Daddy," she said, her voice sleepy, "I like our new house. It feels happy." "It is happy, sweet pea," I said, kissing the top of her head, my heart swelling. "It's our happy house." We started having little weekend adventures, a trip to the zoo. She was mesmerized by the giraffes, picnics in the park, with actual picnic food, not just peanut butter sandwiches. We even went to a small local amusement park one Saturday. Seeing her on the merry-go-round, her face alight with pure joy, her laughter ringing out clear and free. Those were the moments I lived for. Those were the moments Mr. Harrison's kindness had made possible. I made sure to teach Lily about gratitude. We didn't have a lot even now compared to some, but we had enough. We had each other, and we had been shown incredible kindness when we needed it most. "Always be kind, Lily," I'd tell her. "You never know what someone else is going through. A little kindness can change a life." She was too young to fully understand the story of Mr. Harrison and the wrong office, but she understood the principle. She'd draw pictures for her teachers, share her toys, and offer a hug to a friend who was sad. One day, about 6 months into my new job, Mr. Harrison's assistant, Carol, called me. "Mark," she said, "Mr. Harrison was wondering if you and Lily might be free for lunch next Saturday. He's hosting a small informal get-together for some employees and their families at his home. At his home? I was floored. Us? Really? Really? Carol said warmly. He specifically asked for you. He said he'd love to properly meet Lily. So, the following Saturday, Lily and I drove out to Mr. Harrison's house. It wasn't a mansion in the way you see in movies, but it was a beautiful, sprawling home with a large garden. Lily, dressed in her prettiest sundress, a new one that I'd been able to buy without a second thought, was a little shy at first. But Mr. Harrison, or Arthur as he insisted I call him outside of work, was wonderful with her. He knelt to her level, asked her about school, and showed her a family of ducks swimming in his pond. There were other families there, people from different departments. It was relaxed, friendly. We ate barbecue, played lawn games. For the first time in years, I felt like I truly belonged somewhere. I wasn't just Mark, the broke single dad, anymore. I was Mark Fletcher, assistant warehouse supervisor, a valued employee, a father providing for his child. Later in the afternoon, as Lily was busy playing with some other children, Arthur found me watching her. We stood there for a moment in comfortable silence. She's a wonderful girl, Mark, he said. You're doing a great job with her. Thank you, Arthur, I replied, my voice sincere. And thank you again for everything. You know, I still can't quite believe how it all happened. Me, barging into your office like that, he chuckled. Life is full of surprises, Mark. Sometimes the best opportunities come disguised as mistakes. You were desperate, you were honest, and you were willing to work. Those are qualities I value far more than a polished resume or a fancy degree. He looked out at the children playing. I told you I knew what it felt like to be in your shoes. My own father lost everything when I was a boy. We struggled, but he never gave up. He taught me the value of hard work and the importance of compassion. When I finally found success, I promised myself I wouldn't forget where I came from. He turned back to me, his expression serious but kind. What I did for you, Mark, it wasn't just charity. I saw potential. I saw a good man down on his luck, and frankly, the company benefits from having dedicated people like you. It was a good investment, all around. His words settled deep inside me. He hadn't just given me a job out of pity. He'd seen something in me. That realization boosted my confidence even more. It made me want to work harder, to prove him right every single day. As the months turned into a year, then two, I settled into my role. I was eventually promoted to full shift supervisor. The pay increase meant even more stability for Lily and me. We started a small college fund for her. We could afford occasional treats, like a trip to the beach for a weekend. The constant gnawing anxiety about money was a distant memory, replaced by a quiet sense of security and pride. Lily was growing up fast. She was doing well in school, made friends easily, and had developed a mischievous sense of humor. She still remembered the hard times, as she called them, in snippets. She'd sometimes say, "Daddy, remember when we only ate noodles? These noodles are much yummier." And I'd hug her and say, "Yes, sweet pea, I remember. And I'm so glad we can have yummier noodles now." I never forgot Mr. Harrison's kindness or the lesson it taught me. I tried to pay it forward in small ways. If a team member was struggling, I'd listen, offer support, maybe even a small advance from my own pocket if they were really in a bind and I could spare it, just until payday. I volunteered at Lily's school when I could. I donated to the local food bank, the same one that had a couple of times helped me put food on the table when things were at their worst. I knew what it felt like to be on the receiving end of kindness, and I wanted to be on the giving end too. Sometimes, late at night, after Lily was asleep and the apartment was quiet, I'd sit by the window, looking out at the city lights, and reflect on how drastically my life had changed. From the brink of eviction, from the depths of despair to this, a life filled with purpose, security, and the overwhelming joy of watching my daughter grow up happy and healthy. All because I entered the wrong office. All because one man chose to see past my fear and my fumbling, and instead saw a father's love and a human being's potential. Mr. Harrison eventually retired. There was a big farewell party for him at the company. I went, of course. I shook his hand and thanked him, yet again. "You changed my life, Arthur," I told him, my voice thick with emotion. "You and Lily, you changed mine too, Mark," he replied with a warm smile. "You reminded me what's truly important. The new CEO is different, more corporate, perhaps. But the culture of respect and looking out for one another that Mr. Harrison fostered, it still lingers, especially in departments like Howard's and now mine. Lily is 12 now. She's smart, funny, and kind. Everything a father could hope for. She knows the full story of how I got my job, how a mistake led to a miracle. She calls Mr. Harrison Grandpa Arthur when we occasionally see him for a casual lunch, or he sends her a birthday card. She understands the profound impact he had on our lives. Just last week, Lily came home from school, upset because a new girl in her class was being picked on. The girl was quiet, wore clothes that were a bit worn, and didn't have the latest gadgets, like some of the other kids. "It's not fair, Dad," Lily said, her eyes flashing with indignation. "They don't even know her." I sat down with her. "You're right, Sweet Pea, it's not fair. What do you think you could do?" She thought for a moment. Maybe I could just be nice to her. Ask her to sit with me at lunch." "That sounds like a wonderful idea, Lily," I said, my heart swelling with pride. "Remember what I told you? A little kindness can change a life, or at least make someone's day a whole lot better." She nodded, determination on her young face, and I knew in that moment that the ripple effect of Arthur Harrison's kindness hadn't stopped with me. It was living on, in my daughter, in the way she was learning to treat others. Life is still a marathon sometimes. There are still challenges, uphill climbs. But now, my ankles aren't tied. I have good running shoes. And most importantly, I'm not running alone. I have Lily by my side and the enduring memory of a CEO whose words, spoken in an office I never should have been in, not only left me in tears, but also pieced back together my broken world and gave us a future brighter than I could have ever dared to imagine. And for that, I will be eternally profoundly grateful.